There has never been a decade quite like the 60s. The diversity, conflicts, hope, anger, and the music puts these years in a class by itself. The 60s were a decade of change. These changes were evident in fashion, world events, automobiles, self-expression, and again music. Music and events of the day interacted with one another while progressing through one of the most turbulent decades in modern history. The assassination of President John F. Kennedy, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and presidential hopeful Bobby Kennedy illustrated a turbulent and restless society. In 1969, the race to space was won by the United States by putting a man on the moon, and was second only to the ongoing Vietnam War. Black Americans struggled for racial equalities in the 1950s and the 1960s. Earlier in the century, many states enacted Jim Crow laws which created two separate societies, one black and one white. Blacks and whites could not ride in the same rail car, sit in the same waiting room, sit in the same theater, attend the same school, or eat in the same restaurant. Moreover, Black Americans were denied access to beaches, swimming pools, parks, picnic areas, and many hospitals. Okay, so we've covered one decade, and we've got one more to go. So hold on, because the 70s go really fast. The 70s, a time when love was free and peace was a sign of times. A period in history where polyester was king and bell-bottoms were favored. Black people sported afros as a take-back to past straightening practices, and black became beautiful again. Most people spent at least 92% of their waking lives at the disco or behind the wheel of a car big enough to tow the Titanic. Everybody was kung fu fighting thanks to Bruce Lee, and television is changed forever by such groundbreaking shows as All in the Family, Good Times, Saturday Night Live, Julia, and MASH. In the summer of '79, rap broke out with Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang, and hip-hop has been evolving ever since. But what I love most about the 60s and 70s is the music of Motown.
From Hitsville, USA, the home of the world-famous Detroit sound.
As an irresistible force of social and cultural change, Berry Gordy's legendary Motown made its mark not just on the music industry, but society at large. Founded in 1959, Motown music communicated and brought together a racially divided country and segregated society around the world, touching all people of all ages and races. No other record company in history has had an enormous influence on both the style and substance of popular music and culture. With more than 180 number one hit songs worldwide and counting, that influence is still being felt today, from pop to hip-hop. Motown was the first African-American owned record label to reach widespread national acclaim. They broke down racial prejudice by becoming the most successful independent record company in history and the most successful African-American owned business in America. Today, Motown is not only the greatest pop music hit factory ever heard, but an institution, a state of mind, a way of life, a style. The distinctive upbeat and uplifting music brought together pop and soul, white and black, old and young, like never before, and continues to this day. Regardless of race or social background, teenage girls admired Diana Ross and teenage boys pretended to be Smokey Robinson. Motown became the heartbeat of American pop music.